She down there cooking some damn spam.
No, it's just mysterious.
I like barbecue sauce.
Hey everyone, it's Micah Fragrance here, back at it again with another banger video. If you guys are interested in fragrance content, please make sure to drop a sub and a like because that's all I do on this channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the amount of fragrances I think you need. Now, this really does vary person to person, so on my trusty whiteboard, I have some stuff written down. So we have just the average person, someone who wants to smell good, somebody who's into cologne, and the amount for content creators, and then just a couple other notes I simply have. The reason why I wanted to do this, right now I'm in the process of, I moved all my fragrances out onto this table, and I'm just going to be redoing my whole fragrance setup. I think I kind of want to organize them just a different way, which is why I'm doing this. But I was kind of thinking, I have a lot of fragrances. How many fragrances is, right for a specific amount of a specific person? This is a video that I have made, but I didn't put that much thought into it when I made it, and I made it a while ago. So, maybe my opinions have changed. But yeah, we're just going to kind of go in order, as I said. So the average person, I believe, needs 1 to 3 fragrances. Now, keep in mind, average person who wants to wear cologne. I'm not saying just the average person absolutely should be wearing cologne. If you don't want to, simply don't. 1 to 3 fragrances is what I would recommend. If you're the type of person who, you can just wear Dior Sauvage every single day, year round, get confidence with it, do that. I think that's phenomenal. There are some people I know that are like that. But I think the average person should go around 3, maybe go your good everyday scent, something like Sauvage, something like Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Beau, something like Prada's Luna Rosa. Get a good everyday fragrance, then get a nice cool weather fragrance, something that you can dress up, preferably something like Sauvage Elixir, and maybe splurge on a good summer fragrance, get something good like Carolina Herrera's Bad Boy Cobalt. So I would say the average person, 1 to 3. If you're the person that can just do 1 fragrance, do that. But the average person, I think, should have around 3, just because you have other options you can choose from. You can have, a heavier option for a wedding, for a party, for, something that you want to stand out more in. And then you have more options than just 1. Again, if you can get away with 1, that's perfect. But the average person, I think, would probably want a couple options. Somebody who simply just wants to smell good, I think that you should get around 5. Again, get a good everyday fragrance, something like Game of Spades Full House or the real thing Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Get a fragrance that is going to get you noticed and will get you compliments, something like Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultramall. Get a good, cheap fragrance that you can just throw on and not feel bad about, something like Lattafa's Mahir Legacy. I think you should get a good fragrance that is more for formal events, something like Dior Homme Intense, something, you're going to a meeting, you're doing something important and you want to definitely smell that part. And then honestly, I think a fragrance that no one would see coming. My 2 secret fragrances for this, something like Maison Alhambra's Bright Peach or Paris Corner's Cahier Pistachio. These are 2 fragrances that you traditionally would not smell on a guy because, you have a floral pistachio ice cream type of scent and you have a boozy, peachy scent. I think that, those are fragrances that are really good to be wearing as a guy simply because you will stand out very nicely. Another example of that, something like Mancera's Instant Crush. So then someone who wants to smell good, 5. Everyday fragrance, 1 to get noticed, 1 that you can dress up, a cheap fragrance that you can just throw on whenever, and then something that'll really, really, really make you stand out. Something that, is probably meant for the opposite gender. Of course, find a way to slip in a good, warm weather fragrance. That's why I recommended something like Game of Spades Full House, because this could be your everyday scent and your summer signature scent. Next, for someone who is actually getting into cologne, I think around 5 to 15 fragrances is what you should have. Now you're kind of at that point where you can get 5 summer fragrances, 5 cool weather fragrances. You may say 5 just good everyday fragrances, 3 good everyday fragrances, 2, important fragrances like your Dior Homme Intense, Dior Sauvage Elixir. However, one thing I do want to say, if you are getting into cologne, once you have around 10, 15 fragrances, take a look at your collection and think, am I out of this? Am I just wearing Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Beau? Am I just wearing Lattafa Amir Al Oud Intense Oud? Or are you wearing all of them? what I think is if you do get to that spot and you look and you're like, yeah, I have 10 colognes, I'm really only wearing 2 or 3 of them. Maybe get rid of the ones that you're not wearing and get more fragrances in the style of the ones that you find yourself wearing more. Also, getting into cologne is different than like after you've already gotten into cologne, because when you're getting into cologne, you're really trying to find your taste. And that's why I recommend, don't, if you're just getting into cologne, don't spend a whole lot of money and get 30 colognes, 50 colognes. Now, 15 colognes is still a lot of cologne, especially if you're getting into cologne, which is why I think that sweet spot is around 10, because saying, you probably get 1 or 2 at first, and then, you go to your Ross, you pick up 1, you order a Middle Eastern fragrance off Amazon, you order a nice fragrance, you order a couple more Middle Eastern fragrances, all of a sudden you're at 10 fragrances. When I would say I was like done getting into cologne was when I started making content. I had around like 20 fragrances. That leads me into another one. People who want to make content around fragrances. This is a question I get asked a lot. Hey, I want to make fragrance content. How many fragrances do I need? I only have 5 fragrances. Is that enough? Hey, I have 10 fragrances. I want to start making fragrance content. Is that enough? I only have 1 fragrance. Is that enough? There's literally not a number there's no minimum to making fragrance content. You could literally start a channel with no fragrances and make your whole like beginning series just buying viewer recommendations, just buying Middle Eastern fragrances. That's the beauty within fragrances, is that people want to see experienced people talk about fragrances. I would say I'm decently experienced within fragrances. That's why people watch my channel, because they trust my word and they trust my experience. However, some people like me, I would totally watch a fragrance channel of somebody who is just starting out with fragrances, somebody who maybe just had something like Dior Sauvage for their, whole time that they were wearing fragrances. I think that would be pretty entertaining, because, you see like the thought process behind, I picked up this fragrance because it's similar to the fragrance that I wore for a long time. There's multiple ways that you can do it within making fragrance content. You can start with 0, you can start with 5, you can start with 500. It does not matter. There is no amount maximum, obviously, and there's definitely no minimum, in my opinion. Now, some people, for instance, I'll get a comment, someone will be like, hey, how many fragrances do I need to start making content? And some people will genuinely respond. They'll be like, you have to have 100 fragrances, or you have to have 50 fragrances. I simply don't think that that's true. A decent amount of the people who will leave comments like that, like, yeah, they have a larger collection, so they think, I don't make fragrance content, so that means that if someone is going to make fragrance content, they should have a bigger collection than me, which that simply doesn't make sense. Another thing I want to say, if you have 15 or more fragrances, I think you should probably start making fragrance content, simply because if you have like 15 colognes or something like that, 15, 20 colognes, you're going to be wearing a cologne every day. There's no way you don't have like 2 minutes to film some content and post it. Now, obviously, if it's something you're not comfortable with, then simply don't do it. But in my opinion, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have a bunch of cologne and not make content about it. Unless you're just one of those people, you want to smell good, you have a decent sized fragrance collection. If you are strictly doing it just because you want to smell good, you don't care about other people's thoughts, and you really don't want to share, your cologne experience, that is completely fine. But I honestly urge a lot of you guys, start making content. It's something that's super fun. I never thought I'd be monetized. I never thought I'd have 3,000 subscribers. I never thought that I'd meet a lot of people that I would genuinely consider friends, off of making fragrances off of YouTube. So it's really something special. It can turn into something special. Even if it doesn't, you're probably going to enjoy the process. I enjoy the process. I get to sit here, make content for people, and get paid for it. Now, granted, it's not like an insane amount of money, but that's still very, very cool to me. And it's just something that I'm very grateful for. And, you watching this video, you are the reason why this video is coming out. You're the reason why I continue to make content, because if I can put a smile on a couple people's faces per day, by them seeing what cologne I'm wearing, letting them tell me what they're wearing, coming into one of my lives, that's really what matters. In the end, these fragrances don't matter to me. You guys, my community matters to me, and I want to try and help you guys out, which is why I make videos like this, because a lot of people are like, hey, how many fragrances do I need? So it's something I really enjoy. I really urge you guys, If you're thinking about it, but you don't want to pull the trigger, just do it. It's very fun. And I was in that same position too. I was not so sure if I did want to make fragrance content. And I had a creator just kind of push me. He's like, you know what, dude, the hardest part is starting it. Just go for it. So if you're watching this video and you've been thinking about making fragrance content, this is me pushing you. Go for it. Do what I did. Take a leap of faith, and trust me, it will pay off. Thank you all for watching my video. That's pretty much all I have. Let me know how many fragrances you think people need in the comments below. If you want to go along with my order, how many fragrances should the average person have? Should someone who wants to smell good have? Should someone getting into cologne have? And how many should content creators have? Let me know in the comments below, because I am interested to hear your guys' opinions. That is why I make these videos in the end. Thank you all. Have a great day. Please make sure to drop a sub and a like if y'all have not already, and a comment. Really helps out the channel. Thank you all. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, everyone.